Yeah, he's playing. Yes.
Any minutes restriction?
Yeah, there'll be some on him, yeah.
You know what?
Probably between like 25, 28, somewhere in there.
Not too much. Do all these regular family.
Yeah, I mean, that's what they want to start him off at, yep.
I want to ask you real quickly about a question about last year that will play well in this market. It's not often you see Bill Belichick hanging around a post-game press conference at the United Center. Was he there as your guest, and where does your relationship with him start?
No, he was not my guest. I think he was meeting with some people that were, I don't know if Carolina fans, graduates, alumni boosters. He and I have had a long relationship. He was really, really gracious with his time with me when I was at Florida. We spent a lot of time. Spoke to several of our teams. Generally when Florida had their pro day in football was generally around the SEC NCAA tournament, so he was always in for that. And we spent time, and he spoke to our team. But we just, maintained contact for a pretty long period of time. So he had just texted me that he was going to be in town, and he wanted to come by and say hello. So he came by before the game, and then he just waited after the game. We talked a little bit. So he's been a good friend and certainly really gracious with me with his time.
As someone who went from college to pros, what did you?
He didn't ask me any advice there. He feels like he's back.
He's going from pros to college.
I know that, but he's back in the NFL right now with the way college is with the NIL and the money. So I'm sure he knows very, very well what he wants to do and how he wants to do it.
Billy, what's life going to be like without Zach? I mean, how do things change as far as how you're going to attack, how you approach things, or the style is the style, and you're just going to...
Yeah, I mean, I think for the most part, the style is going to be, we're not going to change too much, certainly. He's played really, really well all year long. He's been really efficient. I think he's done a really good job on the defensive end of the floor. It's with him being out, there's really not a whole lot you want to really get into in terms of just like changing things. I think we have to play the way we have been playing. We've kind of had to deal with this during the course of the year, and I think every team goes through it. He's missed games before. He missed obviously a lot last year. Patrick missed some games, this year. We've had different guys out. Kobe obviously is coming back. So I just think life in the NBA, you're always dealing with guys in or out, and you want to be able to have a style or an identity that when you do have somebody out, you can still continue to play that way. Now, the absence of his scoring certainly hurts us, but we'll have to try to generate points together collectively with how we play.
Is this the plan still that he'll probably miss this entire 3-game road trip?
Yeah, I don't want to project on that. He's taken the personal time. The one thing that is a little bit challenging is going to end up being the game in Detroit's at 2:00. Yeah, so that could. I don't want to say he is or is not going to play. I think we'll have to wait and see.
With him being out, obviously some of the younger guys are going to kind of be tapped into the rotation. With how well that stint in the fourth quarter went last game, how do you feel with that group? Dalen, Julian, Matas, how well prepared do you feel like they are to kind of maybe take a little bit of a step up in Zach's absence?
Yeah, I mean, I think in that the one thing with those guys is you're always fighting for a level of consistency, and I thought the energy at which they played with, last game in the fourth quarter were things that they could really control. And, Dalen went, I think 4 for 6 from 3. That's not something that he's normally done, but his energy was in the game, and we need that regardless if he's making or missing shots. The same thing can be said for Modest and Patrick and all those guys. I just thought the way we played, the energy we played with, the pace that we played with is what we need, but we need that consistently, from them. That, I say, they're playing what I would say in a small box, not that you're telling them not to shoot, they can't shoot, but like, can every single game the reliability of the things you're going to get, from younger players? That's generally the biggest hurdle that they all have to go over, because they got to learn the league, they got to learn personnel, they got to remember scouting report, things like that. If they are being targeted, if there's matchups, just different things, and things change pretty quickly, and that's the one thing you want is a reliability and knowing what you're getting night in and night, just from the effort standpoint. And I think a lot of young players focus way too much on the result of whether or not I'm missing or making shots. They don't understand there's so much more that a guy can do to impact the game, and that's what they've got to think about, is doing those things to impact us.
Coach, a couple of weeks ago, the commissioner said that they're going to look into the three-point shot in the offseason, maybe to tweak that. Today he was on a national sports show, and he said that the league is thinking, or it has to consider, making quarters, 10-minute quarters. And I'm wondering, how would that change the game if it went from 12 to 10 or what it?
Yeah, I mean, I think they're probably evaluating everything because I think one, and this is just probably with sports across the board, analytics does play a huge part, in a lot of this. And not to say it's the end all be all, but I think if you look at football, baseball, basketball, analytics is a part of it, and you use that information. So, if you're going to look at prioritizing what are the best quality shots, some of that mid-range stuff has kind of been eliminated out of the game. Now, at the end of the game, when it's a minute to go, you don't care where you shoot from. You just want points, at that point. But if you're looking at the totality of 48 minutes, and you're not talking about end of game or last 5 minutes or 4 minutes, whatever it may be, you want to generate, high-quality shots and, stuff in the paint, at the free throw line, corner threes. Above the break threes are better than none. I mean, just statistically across the NBA, that's just the way it is. So you.
Eliminating 8 minutes from a game.
Well, I think part of that would be my guess, and I don't know. This is the first I'm hearing this, but part of me would think that what's happened is the pace of play has gotten so fast. There's so many games, and I think you look at players' durability of being available. There's a lot on these guys physically in today's day and age that they probably were not dealing with, a period of time ago. And I think every year the game has gotten faster and faster and faster and more spread out. And there's way more possessions now than there was. And, our guys in the medical, I'm sure it's just like this with every team. They're keeping a track of these guys' sprint metrics, and the sprint numbers on some of these guys are incredible, of what they're doing. These guys that are playing, 32 to 36 minutes. It's a lot, and then being able to play back-to-backs, you get 4 and 7. There's a lot of density in the schedule there. It probably makes it hard. Now, that would be my feeling of why they would look to take minutes off, but I don't know that to be true.
So what was that second Florida season like for you guys trying to repeat back then? And, just the process of going through that. And do you feel like it's comparable to what Boston's going through at all, trying to repeat it?
I think there's similarities in all that stuff. That's why, I was fortunate with Coach Belichick that we got a chance to spend a lot of time talking about that because obviously they did that here, in New England. I think they won 3 out of 5 Super Bowls. Coach Riley at Miami was kind enough to spend time with me because they were right around the same time they had won back-to-back championships. And, I got a chance to spend a lot of time with a lot of different people, But there's a lot that I think you have to deal with there, because of them being the world champions, Boston, and 82 games, there's an emotional level that you have to get to every single night. And sometimes you can't get there, quite honestly. I remember when I was at Florida closing out the schedule, I think we had won like 13 straight games in the league and won the conference and then ended up losing like 3 of our last 5 games to close out the season, and we were not playing well and we were getting everybody's best shot. And, then you have to be able to deal and handle it. So there's a lot that goes into it that you have to deal with and manage, and there's a lot of distractions, and it's a grind for the players, There's a grind. I don't know if there's any one way you have to going about doing it, I'm sure Joe has thought long and hard about how he wants to handle it. I'm sure he's doing a great job with his team. I don't think there's any question with their team and their experience and how many Eastern Conference finals they've had and just winning the NBA championship. They know exactly what they want to do and how they want this to play out, I would imagine.
We're going to get 2 more, Joe and then Abby.
Hey, Billy, you're no stranger to the trade deadline. This year it seems a little different there's some big name guys out there, whether it's Sacramento and De'Aaron Fox or Jimmy Butler and everything that's going on there, where teams or players it's not just rumors, it's teams or players coming out and saying, this guy wants to be dealt or I want to be dealt. Do you recall there being such a line in the sand at this time of year where there looks like there's going to have to be movement because whether it's a player holding an organizational hostage or holding all you guys hostage, you guys can't get moves done because everyone's waiting to see what happens with Jimmy.
Yep.
It messes up the whole line. Does this feel different this year?
Well, I think probably what you're talking about is the players that are doing that. You can look at it, a couple ways. The players being somewhat outspoken in terms of, hey, I'm not going to re-sign or I don't want to be here. I'm giving the team the opportunity to make a trade or, a decision. It certainly feels like there's been quite a few players around this time that have, maybe made statements or made it clear that, listen, I'm not going to be returning, and I need to be moved. I don't know if it's just a one-off year, but certainly some of it's been out there publicly, with those guys, which is maybe a little bit different.
My question is, how are you approaching those conversations with your players, with the deadline looming and knowing there could be some changes?
I don't, unless they come to me and talk me about it. I think that probably most of the conversations that would take place would be with their representation in our front office. But the players are not coming to me, talking about it. I have not had that, and nor have I heard anything like that. And I think these guys, if there's anything during this time of the year that guys enjoy more than else, just playing. I think that's probably a good medicine for them to go out there and play. But I think if they have any questions, they're going to deal with whoever's representing them, and that person's going to be talking to the front office.
Thank you, Coach.
Thank you, Bill.
Okay, yep, thank you.